Hello, everyone. We should be live now. Can somebody type in the chat if they can hear me and see me? Any reacts, maybe? Yeah, cool. Thanks, Matthew. Thanks, Margarita. Hey, everyone. Victoria, Alvar, Radu. We're just gonna, we started a little bit early, but we're just waiting for everyone to join in, and just after the hour, we'll get started. But good that you can hear us. Maybe we'll do a quick sound check also. Can you hear Ilaria? Could you maybe speak?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay.
Adele?
Thank you.
How about you, Adele?
Yes, hello. Is it working? Yes.
Can everyone hear Adele as well? Is that right? Super. Cheers, Matthew. Cheers, Alvar. So while we're waiting for people, do people want to just put in the chat where you're dialing in from today? Where across Europe? Nice, Nicolo. Zurich. Munich, England. Oh, brilliant. London. Nice. Oh, cool. Lots from Germany, lots from Italy, Spain, UK. That's great. Okay, see it's 12 now. We'll give it a couple of more minutes and then we'll jump into it. But yeah, keep putting in the chat where you're dialing in from. It's cool to see. Oh, great. Yes, Toronto. Excellent, man. Is anyone else dialing in from outside of Europe today? Just Anne so far, I think. But maybe we have some time for some more Canadians. We'll give it a couple of more minutes. Montreal. Excellent. Catherine. Brittany as well. Hi, Colin. Okay, I would suggest now we're up to 90 people. We might as well get started with the webinar today. So we do have this planned from 12 to 1 p.m., but we might have a little bit of time to go over after if we have some questions. But I'll introduce myself first. My name's Andrew Kane. I recognize a few of the names in the chats from the various events we've been doing to promote the entry-level programs, which I'm the entry-level program coordinator at ESA. So I'm responsible for our graduate trainee programs, our research fellowships, junior professional program, and the intern program, which is why we're here today. The idea today is to give you a little bit of a flavor of tips and tricks for applying to the internship, but also to have a bit of an idea of what life could be like when you're an intern here at ESA. And that's exactly why I brought Adele and Ilaria to the meeting today, because they're both former interns and current graduate trainees at ESA. So in just very, very quick words, maybe I'll hand over first to Adele. Just tell us who you are, what you were doing as an intern, what you're doing now, and where you're based.
Yes, so hello, nice to meet you to all. So yeah, I'm currently a YGT at ESA site. So what we do is mostly related to observation, commercialization. And so I think now it was 2 years ago. Yes, I was also applying for the internship position. So a little about my background. So I studied aerospace engineering with a specialization in Earth observation and also some business related stuff. And so that's why I wanted to apply for a specific position in the future mission and architecture department, so in the observation directorate. So just some quick context, what they do is they handle some preliminary phases for observation. They look at the concepts, some phase A for Earth explorers, and yeah, also they look at the longer term to see how to support the observation program, directorate strategy, and also look at what could be the technological gaps. So in that respect, my internship was about yeah, I will try to be very synthetic about that. So it was about how to have a comprehensive view of the observation landscape. So not only ESA, not only national, but also the commercial and all of the new space startups. So I was working for 5 months on kind of a pilot project, I would say. So it was really interesting because I touched a lot of things. So I brainstormed a lot about how to do it, about what fit could be interesting to include, what could the database look like, and then I also assessed what was already existing and how to improve, to build on what was already existing, so for all the databases. And I also got involved in some implementation, so some coding. So I had some support from someone in the tech directorate. So you can see that even though I was in the observation directorate, there was some interaction. So I had some support from someone from the tech, an expert in natural language processing. And with her, I worked a little on a knowledge graph-based database, and also on using the large language models. So you may know about ChatGPT, these kind of things, to see how to extract data from the existing data sources. So I would say that, yes, these 5 months were pretty intense. There were a lot of things happening. I learned a lot about the ESA processes, not only in observation, but also I learned a lot about the other directorates. So it was a very interesting experience. You could just see some people in the corridors and talk about what they're doing on daily life, about their previous missions. So this was really great. And also maybe outside of the ESA focus, what was really great is also all of the, I would say, the vibe, the environment, the working environment, especially. So for me, it was for the young ESA. It was really easy to reach out to other people and to organize some stuff after work. So it was a beautiful experience.
Thanks for that, Adele. We can jump into it a bit more in terms of do a bit of a Q&A about your experience in a bit. So I'll jump now maybe to Ilaria, just an introduction as well for yourself, and same lines. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ilaria. I'm from Rome, and I am a telecommunication engineer, so not aerospace. And first, when I firstly approached ESA, I was searching for something to fit in for my skills, for the skills that I had. I also had a background in electronical engineer. And I found this position for the internship, which is pretty fresh actually, because I started in March of this year and ended in August, which was on image processing in Sentinel-1 team for the Copernicus program, so also Earth observation, but located in the Netherlands. So I'm a test tech right now. It's the same team that I'm working on with right now as a YGT. So I continued my work, let's say, in the same team. My project for this 6 months was about the payload, specifically for the radar of Sentinel-1. And what I had to do was to study the performances. So I started for some months to study all the paper, so understand a little bit of the project, of the satellite, of all the subsystems. So I learned a lot because it was not my original background. And after that, I started coding. So I managed to develop some tools to detect, cancel, and also study the interference that will affect the image, the final image that you will see, the users will see. And it was a really great achievement for me personally, because I was already involved in different projects that were implying some coding. But for the first time, my codes were actually used from other people. So it was a great achievement, I have to say. One of the best part I want to highlight of my internship personally is that I had the opportunity to meet a lot of people, not only from my team, which were great, but also from other agencies and also other ESA sites, since this is a big project, a big mission, and a lot of people work on it. And I had the opportunity to attend a lot of meetings, even though they were not directly related to my project or what I was doing. And that's a big plus personally that I have to thank my team for. I was followed personally for thanks to a tutor that was assigned to me, and I have to say I was followed step by step, which is not that I wasn't working alone, but I was really helping in what I was doing. And also I had the lucky to work with another intern, so to share my project with another person and to build some, let's say, team project skill, which was really helpful for me personally. Life at ESA is generally great, I would say, because there are a big association of young person especially, that creates a lot of activity all together. They gather a lot, and so it's really dynamic. It's not just about work, which is an important part of it, of course, but it's also about connecting more with people and creating new relationship also for the future, since we're all going to work in the space sector one day. So it's important also to know each other at a certain point. And that's, I think, my presentation.
Thanks for that introduction, Ilaria, Adele. So I'll tell you what we'll do now. We'll do a quick presentation from myself, just describing a bit about life at ESA and who we are, because not everyone who's joining today might already know about ESA. And then we'll talk briefly about the intern program. And then we want to try and hand it over to anyone who has any questions, particularly for Adele and Ilaria about their experience, but also for myself, if you have any questions about tips and tricks to apply to the intern program. So I will just share my presentation. So hopefully you should be able to see. Can you confirm in the chat if you're able to see? Oh, I'll come back. Yeah, so hopefully you can see that. So yes, as I mentioned, again, my name is Andrew. As the entry-level program coordinator at ESA, the intern program falls under my remit, and it's definitely one of our more exciting programs. We have, we'll probably have over 300 interns this year. So it's really quite a unique opportunity. Not many places are going to be having that volume of opportunities for university students. So I'll just give you first a little bit of context about who we are at ESA, for those who aren't aware. So we are 22 member states. So you see the flags along the bottom, plus some associate member states and cooperating states. Just for clarity's sake, because this is often a question that students ask, we are not actually part of the European Union. They're definitely one of our biggest partners through the European Commission. But you might notice from the bottom, you see the Norwegian flag, the British flag, the Swiss flag, even the Canadian flag. And you may be able to tell from my accent that I'm from the UK. So as long as you're from one of the flags represented below, or even one of our cooperating states, which is listed on the website, you are eligible to come and work at ESA. And yeah, there's about 2,500 permanent staff members dotted all over our establishments. that I will go into in the next slide. But just in terms of why we exist at ESA, what's quite cool and unique about us is that we're the only space agency that is comprised of different countries. So you'll have heard of, say, the UK Space Agency or the Kane or DLR or NASA, JAXA. But ESA is very unique in that we are comprised of many different member states. And the reason we are is because we're there to explore and use space for exclusively peaceful purposes. So there is definitely a more security and defense aspect to space at the moment. However, what we do at ESA is, by our convention, is to use space exclusively for peaceful purposes, which is one of our unique selling points. I'll go into the next slide exactly where our sites are based all across Europe, but our headquarters is in Paris. Our biggest establishment is here in the Netherlands called ESTEC. And we even have the European Spaceport down in French Guiana in South America. In terms of how much it costs the European taxpayers and the citizens, it's about 15 euros a year, slightly less actually. And that's with 7.8 billion per year. So really, for the price of a cinema ticket, you do get quite a lot of value for your money. And I will explain exactly what you get for that. So what does ESA do? So we are a world leader in science and technology. And I think it's great that we have Ilaria and Adele here who have had experience with Earth observation, because that's definitely one of our stronger areas. We're world leaders when it comes to our navigation and Earth observation programs, but also our science program is phenomenally successful as well. But what's quite unique about ESA is beyond these real, headline competence centers, we are active across every single area of the space sector that you can imagine. So we do astronauts, we do space transportation, we do technology development, commercialization. I'll go into it a bit later, but whatever you are studying at university today, there will be a position that you are eligible to apply for in the internship program. And that reflects how broad our activity is in the space sector. We've had over 80 satellites developed, tested, and operated since 1975, which is when the agency was founded through the convention. And more than 220 launches have come from European spaceport down in French Guiana, which you can see here. So in the bottom left of the map on the right side, that is indeed where the European spaceport is, where we jointly run and operate CSG, as it's called, with the French Space Agency, CNES. And we do have a few small satellite offices, say in Washington, DC, in Baltimore, but really the competency center of where we're based is in mainland Europe and the UK. So I'll start first with our headquarters, which is the political heart of the agency. That's based in Paris. And then just across the channel, we have our telecommunication application center and communication center, which is in Exat, which is just outside of Oxford, in a place called Harwell in the UK. And going in clockwork order, we also see what we call ESEC, which is the education center and the cybersecurity hub that we have in a place called Redou in Belgium. So not too far from the Luxembourgish border. But as mentioned, where I'm dialing in from today, and also Ilaria, is ESTEC, which is our biggest establishment. It's where about half of the people who work at ESA are working. This is really the technical heart of the agency. This is where a lot of our testing facilities, quality control, development, where we work with our industrial partners. It's done in the laboratories and testing centers here on an enormous campus just outside of Leiden, in between The Hague and Amsterdam. We also have, for me, my favorite establishment, which is the European Astronaut Center, which is just outside of Cologne. And this is where we train our astronauts, but also our colleagues from other space agencies like NASA or JAXA. They also have their astronauts come and be trained at the Astronaut Center. Definitely one of the cooler places to do an internship. And for sure, there are a lot of intern opportunities based at the EAC. Just down the road, just outside of Frankfurt in Darmstadt, we have ESOC, which is the operations heart of the agency. You can think of this as being the place where we try and keep all of the space hardware that we have up in space, up there doing exactly what it should be. It's where our operations center and command centers are. And then just a bit further down the map, you'll see ESRN, which is our Earth observation hub, and it's based in a place called Frascati, just outside of Rome. Really nice establishment with this Earth observation competence, but also where we have a lot of our IT competence as well. Adele is based there, so later on we can go into what she likes about ESRN. But for me, I definitely remember the beautiful olive trees in the garden and the really nice pizza that they have on site. Finally, we have ESAC, which is just outside of Madrid. And this is essentially our astronomy center, but it's where a lot of our science activities are based as well. Really nice, cool site it's a bit smaller, but definitely a real family vibe to the establishment. So today, I just want to give you a quick overview of all of the entry-level programs and research programs we have, even if we're going to talk about the intern program. But for sure, the intern program is for those who are still students at universities and will be for the duration of their internship, whereas the graduate trainee program and the national trainee programs are more for those who have graduated after a master's degree, and you will come to work for 1 or 2 years. We have research fellowship programs, which are essentially postdocs for those of you who are interested in doing a PhD in the future. This is one of the postdoc options we have, and it's similarly the case for the co-funded research. And then our most recent program is the junior professional program, which will hopefully be relaunched at the beginning of next year. And this is something of a bridge between a regular full-time staff position and a graduate trainee program, where we will train and develop you for a few years, for 3 to 4 years, before then you get integrated as a permanent staff member. There'll be more details of that and all the other programs on our careers website. But today, let's have a quick overview of the intern program. So the main thing is you're all here because you know that the applications are open. It's November. We have over 150 opportunities this year. Some of them will have multiple people eligible to be an intern. So we're looking at about 300 interns from join ESA in the course of 2025. The criteria that we really have, as I mentioned before, you see the flags below, which are member states and associate states, and Canada is a cooperating state, but also our European cooperating states are also eligible to apply. So Bulgaria, Croatia, Malta, if you're from these countries as well, you're also, and Cyprus, I should say, you're also eligible to apply for the intern program. Then the second criterion is basically, are you still a student? It's true that most of our interns are probably on the master's level, but we don't have a hard requirement unless it's said so in the vacancy notice. About 10 to 15% of our interns come from the bachelor's level, actually. It's just a bit more natural that if you're at the master's degree level, you might already have a bit more theoretical knowledge, academic knowledge that will support your application. But if you are tuning in and you're in the bachelor program, I definitely encourage you to apply, because the more times that you apply, the better that you will get at doing an application, and you'll get more used to the process. So even if you're not successful the first time, you should still apply in any case, because like I mentioned, about 10 to 15% every year are selected from bachelor programs. So that's the main criteria of who can apply. I will also mention, because I saw there was quite a few people joining from Zurich and from Fribourg, there are grants for students at Swiss universities. You don't have to be Swiss, you just have to be studying at a Swiss university. I encourage you to check out SXS, Space Exchange Switzerland, who can provide extra grants to support you if you are selected for a student internship at ESA. So the duration of the internships is for 3 to 6 months. we kind of put the ball in your court in terms of determining how long that will be, because we know you're dialing in from all across Europe where you have different requirements for master's thesis, for semester abroad. Some of you only have the summer. So the key thing is first to apply, get selected, and then after that, you'll have the chance to negotiate what duration works for you. But it should be a minimum of 3 months and a maximum of 6 months. They're open now, as I mentioned. You'll see them all online, and there'll even be a couple of more going online this week in our Human and Robotic Exploration Directorate. So if you are interested in working at the European Astronaut Centre, keep your eyes peeled for the next few days, because more opportunities will be going online. And they'll all be found on jobs.esa.int. This is the only way you can apply for an internship. This is the only time of the year you can apply for an internship. However, the key thing to note is, if you are selected when you apply now, you will also have the freedom to decide when you start. So it will be at some point in 2025, but if selection is hopefully over by the end of January, really any time from February onwards, you can choose the start date for your 3 to 6 month placement. Again, this is because we know that different students and universities have different availabilities in the calendar. So don't worry about the exact start date. That's something you can negotiate. And the one last thing that I would mention that's not here is that the internships do offer you the chance to do your thesis at ESA. But again, the only way to be able to do your thesis at ESA is to be accepted as an intern. And then once you're accepted, you're able to then propose a thesis, whether it's within your team or even within another area at ESA. You'll have that chance. So just in terms of, very quickly, I won't go into everything, but just what kind of positions would you be doing an internship in? I'd say the vast majority of our positions are going to be in the engineering disciplines that you see on the screen today. We are predominantly an engineering organization. So essentially any kind of engineering that you might be studying at university, you will find positions in the intern program that you would be eligible for. But you get to see a few examples of the positions there. I particularly highlight, if you're interested in systems engineering, software engineering, IT, we're definitely trying to improve our competencies when it comes to AI and machine learning skills and technologies. So they're going to be very transversal skills that will be able to apply to many different disciplines. After engineering, we're a science organization too, as mentioned in Madrid. But also here in ESTEC, we have our science directorate, and you will be able to find various disciplines you see there mentioned. But also I want to particularly highlight, because we do get questions sometimes from those of you who maybe studying biology or medicine, we do have a life and material sciences team as well, which is not something you would usually think of when it comes to space, but the teams that are working there are also working on human health. So it could be to do with astronauts who might be going, hopefully be going to the moon soon, but then maybe even beyond, or in to continue in low Earth orbit, but also the life of plants and other forms that we would be having in space as well. So just to say, we have quite a lot of scientific opportunities as well, which are online too. Okay, and then finally, to kind of complete the three main areas we have business and administration. So whilst we are majority engineering and science, we need to have the law, we need to have the finance, communications, the diplomats. Like I mentioned, you see all those flags below. We have a very active political team here at the agency as well. Facilities management, business NAS, commercialization, strategy. We're not just limited to those of you who are studying engineering degrees. We also have plenty of intern opportunities online right now that are in these domains too. So as I mentioned before, I guarantee you whatever you're studying today, there'll be at least one internship, if not many, that you'll be eligible to apply to. So very quickly, what we're looking for. So like I mentioned, the education level, you should still be a student, definitely with a focus on a master's level is probably the increase your chances, but even a bachelor level is fine too. excuse me. But beyond that, professional curiosity. I mean, just being open to being curious is half of the battle there. If you're here, and it was definitely the case for Larry and Adele, but for all of our other interns, why they do well when they're at ESA is because they are curious about walking down the corridor and seeing what this project or this mission is, even if it's outside of their domain, because everything's really interconnected at ESA. So it's important to be curious. On the language skills, multicultural attitude, this is super important. As I mentioned, we have all these flags below. You're working with people from all across Europe with all kinds of backgrounds. And so it's important to be open to that, I believe. And in terms of language, we do have 2 official languages at the agency, English and French. I would say that unless you're working in space transportation, and actually we don't have any internship positions in the in the European spaceport in French Guiana. That's it's very much recommended you would speak French there. Generally, you're going to be speaking English. And if you can tell from my accent, I'm from the north of England, so I barely speak English. So if I can speak English, I'm sure all of you from all over Europe will be perfectly fine to work here at ESA. Diverse pool of talent, it's not just linked to the multicultural side, but it's to do with, all the kind of competencies you have. I show you here, we have the engineering, the science, the business, all of those subject areas. We need people from all competencies to make the agency work, and that helps to create the team spirit. So again, the passion and enthusiasm, I think, is linked to the curiosity. But when it comes to relevant experience for the intern program, the whole point of the program is to offer you your first hands-on work experience in space. So we're not looking for you've done loads of internships before or you've got experience working in this company. The whole idea here is really that maybe your courses at university have been relevant to the position you're applying to, or maybe you've even participated in the ESA Academy. I would encourage you to check out the ESA Academy for some of the hands-on training opportunities we offer at ESA. But I reiterate that we're not trying to hire really experienced people here, quite the opposite. If you're still a student, this is the program for you. So in terms of what we offer, we do, as I mentioned, have these inspiring projects and activities. When it comes to the conditions at the agency, for the intern program, like I mentioned, if you're from Switzerland, you have the chance to get a specific grant. But for those of you from European Union member states, you're also eligible to apply for Erasmus funding to top up the stipend that we have on offer at ESA. But beyond that, the attractive conditions of working at the agency, I think, as an intern, I'm on site at ESTEC today. We have these really active social, sports, and cultural programs that are here. We have, for example, at ESTEC, there's a golf course, there's a swimming pool, there's a bar, there's a sports hall. We really have a lot of cool on-site facilities that really will make your experience outside of your working side to be a good one. Again, I mentioned the multicultural environment, which is super important to working at ESA. And then the idea as well is these extensive learning and development opportunities that you will get as a hands-on as an intern. And I think, just very quickly, one of the ones I want to highlight, if you do join, we have something called Young Professional Satellite, YPSAT. Please feel free to scan the QR code that you see there, or to Google or go on LinkedIn, because this to me is a very, very, very unique program opportunity we have within the agency for entry-level people. It's your chance to get practical experience in designing, constructing, testing, and launching a mission, actually, a full space mission. So our YPSAT-1 launched on the maiden Ariane 6 flight, and it was a payload that was developed by our interns, our young graduates, research fellows. We gave them the budget and the time and the teaching expertise to learn how to do a really quick mini mission, basically. And that photograph you see there is from the camera payload once the fairing separated from the first Ariane 6 flight. Super cool for all of those who were involved. And there's a YPSAT-2 in the pipeline. So if you did join, the team are looking to launch in 2026. the back end of 2026, but they're looking for people to get involved with the design, the construction, the testing of the missions that they have planned for this satellite payload. So if you do join, I highly recommend to get involved with that. And I'll try and put a link in the chat, but there's a pretty cool mini documentary on YouTube done by the young professionals who were involved in YPSAT 1. Just a 3-parter. They're about 10 minutes, 15 minutes each, the episodes. It's a nice way to get a feel of what it's like to be entry level at ESA. So I have 2 more slides, and the first one is a tip on what to do. And I'm just going to say, take your time. We don't have a prioritization for the applications, so it doesn't matter if you applied on the 1st of November or the 30th of November, we will treat you the same. So really spend the next week, the next 2 weeks to try and narrow down and pick the 2 opportunities you want to apply to, because the likelihood is you're going to be eligible for a lot more than 2. So really taking the time to personalize your application to the 2 positions that you want to apply to. It doesn't take that much time also to personalize your motivation letter and your CV, because ESA is not just like any other employer. Really strongly discouraged during the whole Control F, find, replace. I have always dreamed of working at this ex-employer. Really don't do that for ESA, because it's a very different kind of place to work than some of the other places you're looking to apply to. So just take the time to personalize your application and learn about the opportunities. My second thing is on what not to do. You may or may not be able to see on the screen the exact text, but I just wanted to highlight. This is from a previous internship campaign. And the question was, what are your goals and expectations? And the answer was, certainly, if you're applying for a job position at the European Space Agency and they're asking you about your goals, you can respond with something like this. And they had their answer from ChatGPT. So my advice here first is, again, try and personalize. Don't use your generative AI tools to do your application for you. But if you are going to do it, at least remove the initial prompt paragraph to hide your shame for that. But to go back again, really just use it as a tool to assist, maybe clean up some of your grammatical errors or something like that. But what we're really looking for in all of our questions and your cover letter is about you. And the generative AI prompts won't be the best way for us to be able to see that. So there's just a little tip on what not to do. So very finally, like I said, all of our opportunities available at jobs.esa.int. And you'll find more information on our careers website, specifically about the intern program. But I think now it's best if I stop sharing, and we have some time now for some questions that I first want to give to Adele and to Ilaria just about their experience. But then from the chat, any questions, I'll be happy to jump in the chat and also jump in the webinar too. So first, I just want to say, Ilaria, my question to you is, what were some of the things about the life at ESA outside of the internship that you enjoyed when you were an intern, but then also now that you're a young graduate trainee?
For sure, the sport facility here, personally, since it gave me the chance to be at work, and when finish the work, go to have some hobbies and meet new people. Also because ESA is very varied in terms of ages, for example. So for example, I'm joining the fencing club here, and you can find kids, but you can also find old people, also people my age. So you can really connect to everyone, also not related maybe to my mission, and people that I would not know otherwise, because they may be other mission that is not really related to what I'm doing right now. So it's something that I really enjoyed, and which is not related to my work, and that also I appreciated a lot, is the possibility to participate to some conferences maybe that were held here that were not related to my mission but to my background and my personal interests. So the fact that I could participate without paying the entrance fee because they were held here and I was already here was a big plus for me personally. In general, the young ESA activities, because I was able to meet all kinds of people, and they are really, as I said, dynamic and active in that sense. They really organize a lot of stuff. So I had the possibility to have a dynamic life in general.
Brilliant, excellent. And I think, Adele, you have quite a unique experience because you were at ESTEC here, and then now you're in Italy at ESRIN. What would you have to say about life at ESTEC and ESRIN?
So I would say that, yeah, we're talking about really different sizes. So it's really a different experience. So yeah, I would not choose one, but it's really different. So for instance, at ESTEC, there were so many people every week. It was possible to meet newcomers, interns, YGT staff. So here at ESRIN, we are a smaller gathering. So it's better to get to know each one of us personally. And yeah, it's more like cozy environments. But we also do organize a lot of activities outside of work. So it's more tailored to Italy. Of course, we have the mountain club. We have some wine tasting. We're going to have a panettone tasting this for lunch. So yeah, each of the country I think has its own very specificities, and I think it's really interesting to see how different it is and how unique each site is.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say from my experience visiting the other sites, actually myself, I should mention that I was a young graduate trainee myself, based in the headquarters in Paris. And Paris, there's plenty of opportunities that are going to be based there, and they'll be in our new headquarters, it's been about 2 years now, 2.5 years that we've moved back, I should say, to our new old headquarters because they were renovated. And it's really excellent facilities that we have there. And it's the same for the other ones. So, I mean, I already mentioned the EAC, the Astronaut Center. That's, for me, one of the coolest things I observed when I was there is you're at the coffee corner overlooking the diving pool where the astronauts do their low gravity testing, as if for simulations. And that's like a very unique thing. But indeed, there's always a nice aspect. There's pros and cons to everywhere, but I think at any establishment where you're going to be an intern, you'll have a good time. So I'll just try and answer a few of the questions that we see in the chat as well. So I see that Mary's asking, would it be possible to work in a sector of ESA dealing with international relations? Definitely. I would say that those positions are online right now. I'd particularly highlight the positions in the Director General's cabinet. So if you're working in that role, you're going to have the chance to work on member state relations, which is exactly what you're talking about there. And Anna was asking about, we need specific certificates to prove our language skills. Not at all. If you pass the interview, that will be deemed adequate for us to be able to test your language skills. We don't make it a very formal thing in terms of having to provide an IELTS certificate or anything like this. So as long as you pass the interview, you'll be deemed appropriate. So I see Radu is also asking about, are there more life sciences related positions to be published there? It's true there weren't so many. It's definitely not the majority of what we do, Radu, but I would keep your eye out that I expect some from the Human and Robotic Exploration Directorate to be launched in the next few days as well. So particularly working with our teams that will be either in the Netherlands here at ESTEC or in the European Astronaut Center in Cologne. And in terms of the translations, again, this is not necessary, Mathieu, in terms of attestation. You don't have to translate it as French is an acceptable language, but I would encourage you to write your cover letter in English, just to try and demonstrate why you're suitable for the role. So before we jump into some more questions, maybe Ilaria, could you maybe tell us what was the highlight in terms of the actual work you were doing when you were an intern? Was there a particular project that you would wish to highlight, or was it a series of mini projects? What would you say?
Well, I worked on a single project, but it was, let's say, divided in various steps. So I managed to do it step by step. And at the end, I managed to create a tool a complete tool. So I coded it personally with another intern.
Yeah.
And so that was the result of my internship at the end. I managed to code everything, to program everything in Python, which I was used to it, to the programming languages, but not at that scale, of course. So it was a complete work to, I also created a data set of a series of images to detect, as I said, and cancel some interferences. So it was pretty heavy work on that. But it was, let's say, a single project that I managed to do in 6 months, and to go into details also.
Excellent. Yes, I remember it was definitely one of the things that that set you up well to become a YGT later, because it demonstrated that you were able to support the team and really provide.
Yes.
So when you are an intern here at ESA, you will get the chance to really make a difference to the team. Adele, I just now want to ask you maybe a question about the application process for you. So how did you decide to apply to ESA, and how did you decide to apply to the position that you applied to?
Okay, so yeah, ESA, it's very obvious because yeah, it's one of the leader in observation, and I already knew that I wanted to work in that domain. So I was really looking at all of the position related to Earth observation, and I would say that because of my job background, I was looking for something maybe with a more global standpoint. So that's how I figured out which one would suit me the best, and give me really this overview without getting too technical, because this was not my expertise. So I think that, yeah, there were lots that sounded very interesting. And then I needed to ask myself which one would be maybe the most suitable, considering what I knew and what I wanted to learn. So that's how I ended up with the position I got.
Excellent. Yeah, that's definitely one of the tips I want to reiterate, is that taking the time to select which positions that you can apply to, because if you apply to more than you're eligible to, the 2 positions, you'll be rejected from all of them. So really take the time to go through and choose the ones that you think you are best fit to apply to. I did see there was a question in the chat about, can I apply to 2 completely separate positions? So let's say one Earth observation and one in human exploration. Yes, absolutely. It will depend on your background about whether you can present a nice profile for both of them. For sure, this can be difficult, but it's not impossible. And I know, I mean, Adele was mentioning before, you had this engineering background, but also a business angle as well. So I could easily see you going into those fields. So really, again, it comes down to applying to the positions that most interest you, that you are eligible for. Really pay attention to the educational requirements and the additional requirements we have for each role, because from there you're going to be able to sense exactly whether you'll have a decent chance when it comes to being selected for the position. And just following on from that, I saw Vittoria asked, what if you don't have any experience? This is a really good question, because the whole idea of the program is that it's not designed for those who've got lots of experience. And sometimes some of our interns do have 0 experience, but they're able to demonstrate an interest and a passion, perhaps in space. They might have been involved in an amateur astronomy club, or I can tell you in my case, I remember a big part of my interview as someone who was not in the space sector. I studied political science and I worked in finance before I was a young graduate. I ended up talking for 20 minutes about the fact that Carl Sagan's Pale Blue Dot was my favorite book. And it was not what I was expecting at all, but for them it showed, this person has a bit of an interest in space, because it's absolutely not a prerequisite that you're studying aerospace engineering to work at ESA. For sure, it's not a bad thing, but we are very much open to those who have not specialized into space yet. So if you haven't got space on your CV through a module or course you've been doing at university, try and put on there a bit of space if you've got it, even in your personal capacity or in your extracurricular activities. That would be some other advice. And then a very important one I see for Nicolo asking about the stipend we offer at ESA, and about how can we improve the amount that the contribution is. So this is exactly why I want to reiterate. For those of you who are eligible for an Erasmus grant, take the opportunity to get that as well, because it can almost and sometimes double the amount of the stipend, which is 800 euros per month. But then in addition, if you're studying at a Swiss university, I encourage you again to look at SXS. I'll put it in the chat, Space Exchange Switzerland, who, if you are successful, you will have the opportunity to get additional funding from them as well. And this is the idea, is to make the opportunity bit easier for everyone to participate in. But indeed, it's something we're looking at. I'm trying to find a way that we can increase the opportunities to have a higher income to support your time at ESA. The principle for me should be, it shouldn't cost you anything if you're an intern. You should be here to learn, and you should be able to do it comfortably. Before we go into some more chat questions, I would want to ask Ilaria, what was the application process like for yourself? How did you find it? And you went through it for the young graduate trainee position as well. I see there's some questions in the chat about that. Did you find the process is similar for the internship and the YGT?
Well, the only different thing was that for the YGT, you don't have to do just a live interview with the person that will hire you, but also a recorded interview first. But that was the only very important difference, I would say. For the rest, it's really similar. You have to send all your application and with a cover letter, and then you will, if you are selected for the first row, let's say, you have the interview. The interview is really smooth. I mean, I can talk from my experience, of course. It's not like an exam. It doesn't last 1 or 2 hours or something like that, and it's really job related. So my tip for that would be to really carefully read the job description, because of course you can't predict all the questions that you will have, but most of them, yes.
Exactly. And Adele, I was going to ask, how did you manage to fit in the internship with your study program? So if I remember rightly, you were studying in France. How did you manage to fit in an ESA internship?
Yes, so I was studying in a French engineering school, and we have this end of studies internship that is mandatory for us. So we have a required number of weeks of experience. So then it meant that me, personally, I started in April, and I had to end end of August. But for most of the people, it would have been possible to do a 6 full month internship. And this then would validate the engineering diploma. So this is very specific to France. And then for the last week of the internship, then I was also working on my internship reports and on the final presentation, because then I had to defend a few weeks later about the internship. So this is how it was fitting within, I would say, my curriculum.
Yeah, that's very common for a question for a lot of our applicants, is about how can it fit in with the studies. And so for you, it was able to validate this mandatory part of your program that is part of your studies, the intern, the stage, I guess, of semester. Yeah,
exactly.
Brilliant. Some other questions. We have quite a lot of questions about CVs and people asking what format. Should I have a photograph? Should I include this, that? My suggestion here is we do not have any kind of preferred format. Really use the one that you feel most comfortable using. I know in some countries it's very common to have a photograph. In others, it's absolutely not common. So I know in the UK, it's we really don't have that usually. At ESA, we're not going to discriminate either way for you. I would just encourage you to try and use the CV to get across exactly what you want to convey to us in a very simple way. So my personal preference, I like it if it's 1 or 2 pages maximum. Especially for an internship, you probably don't have that much experience to be talking about, so even 1 page is probably a good idea. What I would also suggest again is to try and find a way to get space or ESA on there. Same for your cover letter. So mention in your cover letter that you came and you listened to Ilaria, Adele, and myself today. It shows that you were motivated to apply for the program. You took, an hour out of your day to come and learn about ESA. If you've been to any of the other online events or perhaps to the open days or some of the presentations that myself or colleagues have done in person at your universities, mention that on your cover letter, because that's another way that we can assess your motivation to work at ESA. See, Angelique is also showing about a question about her background, really diverse background when it comes to neuroscience, political science. This is a good thing, Angelique. I mean, the good news is that you're eligible for many of our roles that we have at ESA, and the bad news is you're eligible for many of our roles, and you have to find a way to try and narrow down and pick the two that you want to apply to. Again, this kind of comes back to that question of, you know, can I apply to positions that are totally unrelated, seemingly on paper? Yes, you can. I mean, you mentioned sustainability. We have a really nice sustainability policy team based in headquarters in Paris. That might be one of the areas you're interested in. Political science could be, as I mentioned, the Director General Cabinet positions we had. We're working in the external relations team with non-member states. The neuroscience side, there's lots of positions maybe in the life sciences that you'd be eligible for, particularly coming in the next week at the Astronaut Center. So yes, again, really read through every single vacancy. I know there's over 150 of them, but just try and take 2 or 3 minutes to scan each of them, just to see if this is something that you could apply to. Put it in a spreadsheet and then try and narrow down that way is what I would say. And then following on from that, Felix's question is just about if you do have diverse background, is it better to pick 2 similar topics or 1 in different areas? Again, it doesn't matter. Like I would encourage you not to try and play like the numbers game about this position is more applied to or less applied to than others. Really, that can change every year too. So it's important to know that the managers that will be reviewing your application, they're not going to see what other positions you apply to if it's not their area. So don't worry about doing that. Now, Adele, if I could ask you as well, what would be one of the things, if the people in the room today are selected as interns, how can they get the most out of their internship? If you could go back and do everything again, what would you tell yourself to really get the most out of the internship?
So yeah, I would say that especially when it comes to the X-Tech side, do not be afraid to just reach out to people if you just have some slight interest in a project, or if you want to get maybe some kind of involved in some activities. You can always say, oh, that would be great if I could actually do something, if I can support. You can always ask, you show that you're enthusiastic. So maybe this is something I would do if I had the chance to maybe try to get more involved in the other activities as support, and also talk more to people. And really do not be afraid, because usually the people, they're always they always want to share more about what they do, and they will never say a strict no. They will say, oh, maybe we can find a way. So it's always good to be curious and to be involved in more than what is your actual topic of the internship. So I think that it depends also on the team, but this is definitely something I would recommend you to do.
Excellent, cool. And Ilaria, if I could ask you one of the questions that's come up. How did you navigate the difficult Leiden accommodation situation? So it is a big student town, so it's sometimes is definitely one of the harder things to find for 3 or 6 months an apartment. How did it work in your situation?
For me, it was part of lucky, I would say, because I was added to the signal group of YP, which is the young professional from ESTEC. And since we are a lot here and there are a lot of interns and YGT, there are come and go. Basically, I stole a room from a guy a YGT that was going. So I was lucky enough to find a room in a shared house. And my tip is to also navigate on maybe Facebook groups or the most known website for accommodation, and to start searching from like 3 months or 2 months in advance. Yeah.
Excellent. Some of the questions that we see from the chat. I have one from Raphael was asking, if you get selected, are you able to end your internship at any time? Yes, of course. There's obviously various reasons why you might want to make an internship shorter. You just have to let us know, and that will be detailed in the kind of offer letter when you get selected as an intern. And Tom's asking, is it mandatory to have the bachelor diploma if you're enrolled in the master at TUM? So no, Tom, I mean, what we're looking for is we're not looking for your diplomas to prove your student status necessarily. We just need you to still be a current student, and that's linked to insurance reasons usually. So if you're doing your master's right now at TUM, but you don't already have your bachelor diploma, that's fine. You're still enrolled in a university right now, so you'd be completely eligible to apply. Asimine is asking about at the master's level, for internship research internships, do we apply only to the internship or the YGT? Now, this is a good point, because if you're a final year master's student, you're actually going to be eligible. You're in the sweet spot where you're eligible for both the intern program to apply right now in November, and then you can also apply in February for the young graduate trainee program, because that won't start until September, October, November. So I believe, for example, Ilaria, in your case, you were doing the internship earlier this year, if I'm not mistaken, and then you came into the YGT later in the year. So you're an example when it comes to that. Some of the questions that we have here. Yeah, we've gone through the structuring of the CV. Again, it's just important that it doesn't have to be Europass. It doesn't have to be the British or the French or the German style. Make it your own style and how you want to get it across. But my tip, if possible, try and keep it to one page. Camilla was asking a question specifically to you, Ilaria, which was, you said that the internship itself was not that related to your studies and background. So how did you end up deciding to do that?
Okay, let's say my background is in telecommunication engineering and I specialize on antenna design. So it's true, the internship that I did was not directly related with that, but it was about image processing, which is also related, let's say, not directly, but it covers some of it. And now what I was saying is that I'm not an aerospace engineer. So personally, for example, I didn't know all the subsystem of a satellite, or how to build it, how to launch it, and all the properties and all the phases that, for example, a mission has to go through. So I had to learn new stuff for my side, like how to choose an orbit, how to calculate it and stuff like that. So I learned a lot more that I just didn't go deep in my knowledge. I also learned a lot that was outside my background, which is a big plus for me personally.
Excellent. That's nice. So just the question that came up, I know you've already touched on it, Ilaria, in your answer earlier, but Tumpis is asking, if we're selected, does ESA help with the accommodation? So I think what's very important to highlight for interns, which are coming for only 3 to 6 months, once you're selected, to really tap into the young ESA network. So at each of the establishments, there's groups. Ilaria mentioned here at ESTEC, there's an enormous Signal group, for example. I know in Paris and Madrid, they have WhatsApp groups. I think maybe the same, Adele, in Esrin. I don't know if it's a WhatsApp or exactly how it's done.
Yeah, WhatsApp also.
WhatsApp also, exactly. Because what you'll find is exactly what Ilaria was saying, is that these kind of informal networks, you'll have an intern going out who would be more than happy to share their apartment with you. And so those are the ways that you can get around it. And again, nearly everywhere where we have an establishment, there's a big university as well. So it's very common to have Erasmus students in similar situations. So really, once you're selected, Young ESA, this group, it's very active across all of the establishments. It's one of the best ways to get connected, I'd say. So some other questions about the translations are not necessary again, Felix, so don't worry about getting those things translated into English. We're not looking for the documentation at your application stage. It's more at the if you are selected, we just need proof of your student status, that you are still enrolled at the time of your internship starting, but also for the duration of your entire internship too. And there's another question from Pietro, which not on the CV side, but the cover letter, the length. Again, it's the same principle for me, Pietro, that whether it's 1 page, 2 pages, the most important thing is to get across exactly what you want to do in the fewest words possible. So if that goes into 2 pages, that's fine. What we really want you to demonstrate is why you think you'd be good for the role. So don't just try and pad it out for the sake of it. But if it does go into 2 pages, that's perfectly fine. My tip for the cover letter would be try and mention specifically excuse me, some of the projects that the team might be working on. It's not that hard to find, you know, from Google or from LinkedIn or the ESA website, some of the exact missions or projects that the team you're applying to are working on. Try and learn about them and try and demonstrate what you've learned and what you would like to learn about those if you were selected. It's one of the ways to help personalize your CV. And a different Felix was asking, do you have any advice on navigating the different open positions? So for me, my personal preference is you have time. You don't have to apply today, or the earlier you apply, we treat you preferentially. So spend the next 2 weeks, spend an hour a day or something going through each of the vacancies that are open, putting a little filter. This is a green flag or a red flag that you want to pursue with that. Try and narrow down over the course of the next few weeks, and then pick the 2 that you would like to select. Adele mentioned her way. Ilaria, how about you? How did you end up narrowing down the ones that you could apply to?
For sure, for example, in my case, I knew that the position that could have fit more would have been or in the Netherlands or in Italy at Esrin. So that was the first selection from looking for locations. And then I started searching for something that was related to my master and something that I really liked personally. So that was my criteria to sort all the positions.
Excellent, cool. We have another good question, which is a bit linked to that, Ilaria, which is it's from Eva, which is about you can, within applying to one position, you can indeed apply to multiple topics. So if you do have a position which has multiple topics, within that position, you can mention in your cover letter or your CV multiple of those that you might be interested in. The only restriction we have is applying to 2 different posts. That's the maximum you can apply to. But for sure, there are some positions with 4 or 5 different topics. Why not demonstrate why you might want to apply and do internship in any of those? You'll have the chance in your cover letter to demonstrate that, I would say. Now, George is also asking, she was saying she had a bachelor degree in languages and now she's doing a master in science communication. Is she eligible? Yes, absolutely. There are positions in communication, as you mentioned, that you would be eligible for. But again, a lot of our, I encourage you to look at the specific educational requirements for the positions. So this is especially true for those of you studying STEM subjects, because many of the vacancies will just say, we're looking for someone with a scientific or technical discipline. We don't even specify that it's electrical engineering or aerospace engineering. Generally, you will have the kind of transferable skills to be able to go across unless specified. So again, you might not be able to see from the title, so go into every single post and you might realize, oh, I'm actually eligible for this, and I didn't think I would be based on the title. But when I look at the requirements for the position, it fits perfectly. So the only way you will know that is, again, going into each of the positions that we have there. Ambre is asking about, can we do an internship from August to October? Yes, absolutely. The whole idea is that you apply this November, but if you're selected, you can choose when you want the internship to start. So I think, Adele, you said you started in April because of your studies, if I had that right. Was it April?
Yes, exactly. I started in April and end of August also because of the studies.
Exactly. And, you know, Ilaria's at a different time. Really, the interns come throughout they will come out throughout 2025 once selected, just whatever fits to your calendar. And Anthony's asking, if we're interested in internship, but our skills don't fully support our application, is it worth trying? So I think here it comes down to yourself being able to discern if you would be fit for the position. So for sure, I wouldn't encourage, we used the example earlier. So Georgia was saying, I think she had the background of communications and languages. If the role says you must have an aerospace engineering degree, I think it's probably a wasted chance to apply to that. But if you think there's a role, you know, maybe the inverse is quite interesting. If you see that there's a role which is, let's say, in science communications, but you have a science background, so you don't necessarily have a communications background, and the position is looking for those who maybe more specifically have a communications background, maybe it's worth applying to it. But I still think it's better that you apply to something that best fits the educational requirements of the role, because there will be multiple positions that you can apply to based on your background. So if you can only apply to 2 every year, it's a bit risky, in my opinion, to kind of burn one of these positions on an application where you might have a lower chance of being selected. So I see also Elvira is also asking about, to be eligible to apply, is there a limit on how many exams can be left to complete the masters? Not at all. We don't really care for the intern program about how many exams you have or have not completed. For us, it's just important that you're able to come on site, because all of our internships are on site at the various positions, establishments. The location will be mentioned in every vacancy notice. And that you're enrolled as a student for the duration. So you don't have to provide any transcripts of your exams when doing the application. I think we have gone over a little bit now, but I just want to maybe throw back to Ilaria and to Adele, just for some final thoughts from your side. So maybe Ilaria first, just anything you would like to say in a closing remark about to these, you know, potential applicants to the program as a former applicant and intern yourself. Just a few moments, please.
Yes, maybe just some tips for the cover letter, for example, for the motivational letter. I would suggest not to focus a lot on the grades or on the courses that you did, but most on the activities, on the project that can be related to the job you're applying for. For example, in my case, I think a big difference was made by an ESA Academy workshop that I did. That was related to another sentinel, but still a sentinel. So I think that this is a big difference for the selection process.
Excellent. Yeah. Academy is a great one. I'm going to put that in the chat. Check out those opportunities there, because that's a real way to turbocharge your CV, because you get a bit of space experience on there, and you also get a bit of ESA experience on there. So it's a really nice way to do that. Adele, any last things you want to say, or tips or tricks or anything as you prefer?
Yes, I think, yes, the experience is a very good point, but I would maybe add another one, is to show how motivated you are. So it goes on sort of the cover letter to show how you would be excited to join the team, how you would contribute, and also during the interview. This is when you get the chance to show really how you would love to work on such project and to convey this. So I think this is really important to exchange with the interviewer and not see it like as stressful or what, but to really go into this discussion as if you were already kind of working with him. And this is, I think, what could make a difference during the interview.
Excellent. Great. Thanks for that, Adele. Thanks, Ilaria. And before I give my very final remark, I do see there's a question there from about the internship qualifying as a master's thesis. I would defer that to you with your, because each university will be different. But just again, for those of you interested in doing the master's thesis at ESA, the internship is the way to do it. So first get the internship, and then you can make the proposal for the master's thesis. Very finally, my tip is a bit to build on what Adele was saying on the motivation side. Take the time, honestly, to personalize. Again, to go back to the ChatGPT example I used in my presentation. It's really, I know that it can help improve time, and but for us, it doesn't really get across your passion and enthusiasm, because at this stage, we know you don't have a lot of work experience. The whole point is we're trying to give you that for the first time. So one of the main things we're going off is really what can your motivation to potentially work in space be? And so I feel like if you're going to delegate that to a tool, or not put too much effort in to personalize it, it does come across a bit when the managers are going through the application. So really do try to see that. And in terms of timeline, to wrap up now, I think there's a few pertinent questions. So the program will close for applications. Majority will be closed at the very end of the month, but like I mentioned, there'll be a few astronaut center positions which will go live that will have a bit longer period. But for sure, they'll be closed once the application date is explained on the vacancy. And then after that, in December and January, we'll be doing the selection. So we hope to have by February when if you will be selected for the program. And with that, if you are selected, then you're able to then negotiate with the manager exactly when you do start the internship. So I take this chance to just wish you good luck to all of you, and I really hope that you all do apply to the maximum amount of positions. Really don't just apply to one, because working at ESA will, I think, be one of the best experiences you can do. So maximize your chances by applying to 2 positions. But again, Adele, Ilaria, thank you today, and thanks for everyone for tuning in, and good luck. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Good luck.
Bye.